Hello and welcome to the Milton Organ Loft here at Tewkesbury Abbey. I'm going to demonstrate some of the sounds available on this instrument to you, and just a little bit of historic background to the instrument as well, because in some ways it's quite unusual. You'll have seen the gold pipes at the front of the case. And I'm going to start by just playing a few sounds on that rank of pipes. It's actually the 16-foot diapason on the grate, and it sounds like this. Very beautiful singing sound, I think. Now those pipes are actually from the original Dalham organ of 1633, so those sounds are almost 500 years old. Remarkable. The question I'm asked most frequently about this organ is, why is it called the Milton organ? When this organ was built, it wasn't actually built for Tewkesbury, it was built for Magdalen College in Oxford. However, after about 20 years or so, they decided they didn't want the organ anymore, so they moved it to Hampton Court Palace. And it's during that time when Cromwell's Latin secretary, the famous poet John Milton, who was also an amateur organist, but a very enthusiastic organist, so we're told, and he is said to have played the organ during that period. Ever since, it's been known as the Milton organ. So there you are, a little bit of history lesson. Interestingly, the organ was then returned to Oxford for a few years before it was eventually purchased by the Abbey here. So I think that was 1737. So the organ was already 100 years old when it came to Tewkesbury. Interestingly, it was originally on a screen which separated the nave from the choir. The Abbey would have looked very, very different in those days. And since that time, many organ builders, some of them very distinguished, have had a go at rebuilding and overhauling this organ. So it's an instrument that has really grown and developed over the years. For example, if I turn very briefly to the swell, you hear the open diapason here. This is the work of Father Willis. From the middle of the 19th century. So the story continues really right to the 20th century with Walker's, Kenneth Jones, and then most recently an overhaul by Nicholson's. So that's a kind of history lesson over. Shall we turn to the great organ, just to give you a few more sounds there. So we've already heard the 16-foot diapason, and we have two diapasons at 8-foot pitch. And this is the softer of the two. The open number one. Build up the chorus, adding the 4-foot. 2-foot. A mixture. For even more brightness, there's a cymbal. If you add the 16-foot, it gives just a little bit more gravitas to the sound. When Nicholson's did the work 7 years ago, they did some revoicing, And one of the stops where he voiced was this sesquialtra here on the grate. So if I add that to the main chorus without the cymbal, in fact I'll go back a step. This is the main chorus to the mixture. Add the sesquialtra. Adds a sort of tangy reediness to the chorus, which can be very effective for certain pieces of music. Let's turn now to the swell organ. So as you would expect, we've got some strings. Flute. Stop diapason by itself. Rather lovely singing quality, and then the 4-foot added. Gentle but quite beautiful. Actually, you'll hear those demonstrated very beautifully in Simon's Duraflay in the recital later. Also some quite fiery reeds, really. Cornopian, clarion with a 16-foot. And then the choir organ, interestingly, until 1997, there was no choir organ on this instrument, so the choir was completely new at that point. It was the work of Kenneth Jones, and as I say, Nicholson's did some revoicing 7 years ago. Rather lovely stop diapason, sings rather nicely. 4-foot. And a principal. 2-foot 15th. Sharp mixture. You'll hear that chorus in the Bach toccata in the recital, actually. A dialogue between the grate and the choir choruses, which is really quite effective. Now the solo organ. The solo is placed just to my left, just to the left of the console in a box. And perhaps two quite unusual things here. Firstly, there's trumpets, or trumpet and clarion, which were the old great reeds, which were revoiced. And they're really rather useful. You can play quite a mezzo forte sort of trompet sort of sound. Close the box and it sort of fades to piano. And then if you draw the clarion and the horn as well, you get an extra set of 16/8/4 reeds. Complementary to the swell reeds. Now I must tell you about the horn. This is a Tewkesbury special, really. You see there's a 16-foot horn. Now that rank of pipes is enclosed in the solo box, but it is also a pedal stop. It appears on the pedal at 16-foot pitch. And at 32-foot pitch. And it's in a box, so you can actually use it with full swell, with the box shut, and get this sort of effect. Purring away. way, but it also makes its presence felt in the tutti as well. So quite a clever stop, really. And then I suppose the other Tewkesbury special, if I might put it that way, is the Apse organ. This was added by Walkers in the 1940s to expand the tonal scheme. At that point, the Milton was only a fairly modest two-manual instrument. There was no choir organ, there was no solo organ, and there was not really any space for any more organ, so they built this section, which at the time was called the echo organ, and it's placed in the apse just above the Lady Chapel altar, which here at Tewkesbury is actually in the transept behind the main organ here. So we've got some really rather lovely ethereal strings. Even better with the octave coupler. Even better with the sub-octave as well. And then the corno di bassetto, which is a sort of clarinet, which is rather beautiful. Then the louder stop I've left to the end, really. Inevitably, it's the tuba, which is also not in a box, it's unenclosed, but it is over in the apse, so it's at some distance from the main organ. That was also a relatively late addition, came from a church in London, as late as the 1970s, I think. So there's a bit of a whistle-stop tour of the organ, but it gives you an idea of some of the sounds. I think what I'll do to conclude is just do a gradual build-up of the organ, so you feel starting on really the quietest string sounds, then building up to full organ. Let's go for that, shall we? So there you are, just a few tasters really of what the organ can do. And I strongly encourage you to listen to the recital which Simon Bell and I have recorded, which really hopefully demonstrates this organ really rather well. And Simon will also be doing a quick demo on the Grove organ as well. So we look forward to seeing you over there. Thank you very much.